I probably should be, right now because my weight has gone up a little bit. But no, that was good to see him, kind of change his diet a little bit. I told him, now you got abs now. So, yeah, so that was good.
What do you think that does for him, though, Ben? Just seeing him come back, especially in his abdomen, kind of being able to take some of that body fat off.
I think it'll be good for him. He seems to be moving around pretty good, helping to be stronger. It'll help with his agility. I mean, because I think he's kind of want to break everything down and then build it back up, which is what he's been doing the right way. So, I mean, I think it'll help him be more explosive and probably help him sustain himself, in terms of his stamina and all that stuff. So I think I think he's on the right plan. And I know he's been working hard in the weight room and seems pretty dialed in, so I think it'll all be positives for him.
And one of the challenges as you guys switch to this outside zone scheme, Nathaniel was talking about it, Aaron and Jamal talked about it yesterday. What are the differences for them in terms of their aiming points and their patience compared to what they were used to their first couple of years?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing with it is it's really, you got to be a lot more disciplined, initially as a runner. So we're still just trying to, we're still getting better and better at it, and because we've always run outside zone here and everywhere that I've been. But I just think that there's a lot more discipline to it, just under this scheme. So, and they've been getting a lot better at it. I think once they master it, because we've been watching film of other guys and seeing the success that other backs have had with it. I think it'll fit both of those guys pretty good because they both can put their foot in the ground and explode well upfield, and that's a big part of the whole scheme.
Is patience part of discipline? Is that?
It's not really. It's not patience as much as it is. Don't panic. It's more about, hey, just trust. Trust what you see. Trust the reads. Trust the guys up front. Trust the fact that you're moving the defense. Before you're allowed to make a cut. Now we always talk about that. Now there's still going to be those times where you may have to take evasive action, like if somebody breaks through or, a defensive lineman gets tremendous push. But if you just stay the course and stay disciplined within the scheme, I mean, you'll have a lot of success with it.
Is one of those other guys you've watched maybe a Derrick Henry? And what do you think a guy like Jamal and Derrick that has that downhill running style, how can he fit in this kind of wide zone scheme?
I think that, one of the things that we always talk about is that we look for is guys that are violent one-cut guys, which kind of fits what Jamal is. I mean, he's not, a guy that's going to try to, initiate a lot of different moves. So I think it should fit him from that standpoint because he does have the ability to explode off of his cuts and then get vertical downfield. And, once you can do those things, I mean, you can operate, in the system. So I think he, I know you mentioned, Derrick Henry, who's kind of that, strong inside runner, but you can see he was tearing it up towards the end of the season.
Where does Dexter kind of fit in that too? What have you seen with him since he's got here, obviously, now as you're implementing?
I think he's going to be fine in it because the one good thing about him is, he's got the ability to make explosive cuts, but he's got really good acceleration. Like he can hit his top speeds pretty fast. For him, it's like, sometimes when we're working with rookie running backs is just continuously to make sure that he understands how you have to run, in this league, which he's figuring out. So I think this game, he should be built for this because, he can make explosive cuts and he can accelerate fast, through the hole.
And there's Mike Smith and Jerry were telling us last week about how, their guys have kind of cross-trained a little bit with the way the run game is with your guys on the offensive line. Is there a lot of interaction between your group and Adam's group?
Not as much in terms of us. Now, we've had our different, walkthroughs and stuff like that where it was just, the offensive line and just us, in the backfield. But we haven't gotten to a ton of that yet, but it's something that whether it's sitting down watching film together, and as we get more and more probably into training camp, I can see us having those sessions just to make sure that we're all on the same page, with it. So that's something that's we'll probably do a lot more in the future.
And is there a learning curve for your guys to run behind a fullback more than they have in the past? And what's it like to work with Danny and Malcolm in that position?
I don't know if it's so much, because we use them, I know, very sparingly, last year, but they've had some experiences with that. So far, it hasn't been, I haven't seen a situation to where it's really, affected them. Because when we sit and watch tape together, whether it's watching, film on other guys that have run the same scheme, I think they all have pretty good awareness of having a guy in front of them. And it's been great, obviously working with Malcolm and working with Danny. I mean, they've seen the success that fullbacks have had in this system. I mean, some of the best fullbacks in this league have, played in this system, so they're really excited about that. I mean, they've really taken to it, just the way that they're trying to learn the system. And I show them all the different clips and the versatility, of the position. So they're really excited about it. So that helps, as they figure out the scheme.
I suppose vision's an important trait in any running scheme. Is it maybe more so in this one?
I don't know. I don't know if it's as that big of a deal, because it's literally, in this scheme, it's boom. That's the hole where you got to press it to. If it's closed, going to the next one, then to the next one, then to the next one. If it's open, boom, you hit it. So it's not so much about seeing and having a lot of vision as much as it is about it's a process running game, all right? Here's the process, go ahead and execute it. That's why it's almost like you can throw anybody in it as long as they have the ability to put their foot in the ground and make a violent cut.
So what is the back looking for? So you say it's a zone to the right. What's he looking for?
Well, he has an aim point. So the first thing that he's going to do is he's got to chase his aim point. If that hole, let's say it's the D gap, all right. So if the D gap is closed off, then you get your eyes to the C gap. If the C gap is open, you take it. If it's closed off, your eyes should go to the B gap, to the A gap, and so forth. So an outside zone scheme, that's really the process of how it works. Now, the big deal about it is you got to make sure that you press it as much as possible to the heels of the lineman or the tight end, because that's what's going to create the flow in the defense. So if you cut it back too soon, then usually you're not helping your guys up front. The linebackers, those guys can fall back and make a play. So that's why I say it's more about not as much vision as much as it is about discipline and understand the process of how the scheme works.
Hey Ben, Mike McCarthy won a heck of a lot of games here, but he would say this a lot, and we would even tease him about it, and he would even probably admit that and joke about it, that he would always say he wanted to run the ball more, and it didn't usually quite happen. Can you tell that the commitment with the new scheme and how important the run game is to the success of the pass game, that this is a legit, we're going to run the ball more, and the numbers are clearly going to bear that out by season's end?
Well, I think you can, definitely, I mean, even just through the commitment of when you look at where Matt has been and just how they run the ball at those different places, and just through the process of, how we're installing stuff, you can tell and see that, everything is predicated off the run game, in this offense. And it's something that, obviously it has the guys up, the guys up front, has the guys in the backfield, have those guys excited about. And I think everything that we've done so far, just leads us to believe that, it is an important factor within this scheme, and we got a major job, ahead of us as backfield, as guys in the backfield, to make sure we get it done.
A couple of years ago, we talked about your teaching background because you had a converted wide receiver and 2 rookie running backs. Are you back to that even with Jamal and Aaron's experience, because you are teaching a new scheme? And what's the process been like for you to not only learn what you need to teach yourself, but then go on and teach it?
The process is pretty much, in terms of the formula of how I convey the information, that part of it, has been the same. I'm utilizing obviously a lot more video because I need more video evidence, in terms of, making sure that I show not only just, Jamal and Aaron, but even guys like Danny and Malcolm, as fullback. So because it gives validity to when you're talking about something, when they can actually see it working, and here's why we're doing it this way, here's why we're training it this way. So from that standpoint, the way I teach, that hasn't changed. I would say probably the biggest deal, just utilizing more video to get my point across with it.
Can you tell how you guys are doing with their tracks, like you said, pressing it, because you can't have pads and linebackers can't?
Right.
Is it more about the tracks, or is there still an element of, well, until we get to camp?
There's a little bit of element with that, and that's why some organizations don't spend as much time, worrying about the run game during this time, because you don't have pads on. And then I tell the guys all the time, it's a lot tougher to get cleaner reads when you don't have pads on. So it's really more about, the tracks. It's more about teaching those guys the discipline of the play. It's more about making sure they have, when they do good things and bad things. So even if they're not pressing it, or they make the wrong read, or they read it too soon, now I'm building up that evidence. So when we get to training camp and we revisit everything, I can utilize that as a teaching tool. Then now when we combine that tool, when we get the pads on, it should help us be more effective.